Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Good to have you with us on our latest WPT weekly. We are all settled back in our respective homes. Me and sunny South Florida. Jake, my favorite cat out of the four rescue cats that we
Oh,
have.
well,
He's
you let the other ones hear that.
he is, yeah. The other boys are sleeping over in the bedroom, and I love them all, but I think they do know the truth that this is my best boy right here. He's sound asleep on my desk. OBS guys and welcome Joe and Tommy. Always good to see you guys and looking forward to the next half hour or so. We had a lot of fun. I thinking back to Ocala even a couple of days ago. I was telling my wife just how enjoyable seeing everybody, not only the team, of course, but we had some prospects in town. We had some existing partners in town. And it felt like, Joe, not only did we buy five potential future superstars, we'll take the potential out. We bought five future superstars.
Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Morale seemed high, energy seemed high. It was an awesome sale, it really was.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great to see all the partners and all the new partners come down. The vibes were good. The horses that we got, a little bit on the pricier side, but the response has been awesome. Four out of the five sold out so far, and we got one really, really nice one remaining. Yeah, I mean, I said it last week when we were doing the wrap call. Like, it's a lot of hard work. It's a hectic environment, but it's a lot of fun too. And if anybody's watching this and like is thinking about coming down for the April sale, come on down. Like, it's a really good time and you'll learn a lot. You'll be part of the action. So yeah, it was a blast and looking forward to doing it again in 3, 4 weeks or so.
Absolutely. And thank you, by the way, as I share my screen here. Thank you. The response has been like off the charts, overwhelming in terms of how fast the five horses sold. We've got a little room, Tommy Murphy, remaining on this gorgeous. I'm already dreaming Kentucky Oaks and then some with her. Okay, I'm aiming high with the Charlatan filly. We've got a little room left on her, but that's pretty much it. Just the response has been unbelievable. And I mean, what'd you think of this filly seeing her in person?
I was stoked, and we got her early on day one, and I think that really helped set the vibe and really to set the tone for the sale. We bought her and then the Tislaw Colt both early on day one. That kind of really, at least for me, I was really excited. I got really energized. Just seeing her in the flesh was a treat. She's just an absolutely beautiful filly. And we all know that Charlatan is, that he's been the talk of the town. He was the talk of the town. Keeneland, the yearling sales. And again, he was the talk of the town of the 2-year-old sales. So I think we're starting to see a trend here and to be able to jump in, get this filly early, beautiful filly by, a really hot first crop sire is always exciting. I kept thinking of Vacoma last year, buying Mila Rose down there and thinking that if we would have known what the Vacomas were going to do, I think we would have probably bought a handful more. And I think there's a pretty good chance that Charlatan is going to follow in his shoes with his first crop this year. And to have a filly from his first crop, pretty, I think when it's all going to be said and done, we look back at a pretty good price point for maybe what some of these others are going to end up going for. To get her for that, I think was just fantastic. And I really loved her breeze. And that was that day that had that wicked headwind that they were all running into, and she breezed really well. So I'd give her a big thumbs up here. I really like this filly.
Yeah, I
Look
mean,
at her blast
yeah.
off, right, Joe? I
I
mean,
just
look at
wanted to
her
add,
just
like, the way she floats over the ground in this breeze, like even taking the headwind out of it, like she barely hits the ground. Like, you look at some of these other breezes and you see a lot of the synthetic surface kicking up. It's like barely any at all with her. And so I think that just such an easy mover despite having to run into that headwind. Like 10-1 is probably like 9-4 on a calmer day.
she's got great size too. Pedigree's there. The fact that not only David and Gordo gave his double thumbs up to hear how much Cherie loves this filly and the Army Mule filly, but she's like beyond stoked. We're sending the two of those fillies to her. So very cool, very exciting. And reach out to your rep if you want a little more information on that powerhouse Charlatan filly. Again, I've already I've already started to plot and think like, what suit am I going to wear to Oaks Day 2026 with her? We like her that much. So let's backtrack, guys. And I know in your neck of the woods, Tommy, that the backstretch opened up at Churchill Downs. And why don't we get to Absolutely Hot first? I was going to do Line of Justice, but all good with Absolutely Hot coming out of his race. And it sounds like he's going to be, not only did he, I should say, exit his race, his maiden win on Saturday, which was never in doubt, I might add, in excellent shape. He's going to be one of the first, Gulfstream to CD shippers for Dale Romans.
Yeah, I was at Churchill this morning, taking it all in. It's, like I've said before, it's like almost a national holiday for me when that first horse fan gets back into the gates at Churchill, and just going back just to see some of the horses that were there. Obviously, you mentioned I think he's to be one of the first horses back, so I'll be looking forward to seeing him. Hopefully, if I'm lucky, maybe later this week. But I was really pumped with this effort from him. There was a little bit where I don't know about never in doubt. There was a little bit where I was getting worried here at the top of the stretch with him.
That was
sure.
a facetious comment, Tommy. Yes, I was very nervous at around the 3/8, 5/16 Paul.
Right
I'm
about
like,
here.
Is he out a horse? Oof.
And then right about here, he kind of bellies down and really finishes strongly, like we saw in his last race when he got to the turf. So I think we found that the turf is going to be what he likes the best. But overall, I thought it was a great effort for him to break his maiden at what was his third career start. You look back again to his first start on dirt where he ran into Barnes. Then he goes a little bit of time off and then gets back to the racing a Gulfstream on the turf course, puts in a nice second, then he breaks his maiden third out. Which is a really nice progression. I know he took a step forward on the figures as well. And, also noted as a, Dale Romans fan myself, Promises Fulfilled had his, now I'm screwing up how to say it. Promises Fulfilled ran 1-2 in this race. Mr.
Swept
Big,
the exacta. Yeah, he swept
and
the
of course I
exacta,
didn't
man.
bet it. So, just my luck. But again, really proud of Absolutely Hot here breaking through, and I'm excited to get him back home to Kentucky.
And Joe, I mean, in terms of the buyer for what it's worth, not that I don't think any of us, or at least I'll speak for myself, not that I'm like totally hung up on turf speed figures in general. But that said, he stepped forward, got a 73. I think it's a very, very solid number overall on the buyer scale. And what caught my eye, Joe, also was the ground loss, right?
Yep.
I mean, that was not an easy trip for any turf course, let alone this one at Gulfstream where it's so hard to make up ground consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I haven't seen what the sheet figure is, but considering he went 4 wide around the whole turn, like it's got to be bigger, relatively speaking, to the 73 buyer, which is already solid. And yeah, I'm a big Junior Alvarado fan, but there were definitely a couple of points in that race where I was like, bro, what are you doing? Like this horse has speed, like you're losing all the ground. But it seemed to me like he knew what he had and he was confident. Maybe he was trying to stay off the inside. If you look in the stretch of that race, the inside of the Gulfstream turf course is a little bit more chewed up than the outside. So maybe he was trying to avoid that kind of softer ground. But yeah, I guess he knew what he had. He didn't really use the stick at all. And he came through. And yeah, it's really nice to see him put back-to-back efforts to good efforts together. And yeah, I think this is a nice colt that we're going to have some fun with.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Got to think he hits pretty hard while also improving and taking another step forward in his next race, most likely over the month of April as Keeneland gets ready to open up in the spring. So congratulations to Absolutely Hot. Joe, let me send it back to you real fast. Quick comment on Vibe. Naturally, the Keeneland 2023 September sales topper. It's been talked about. He has improved in his works. I ultimately think, though, this is a horse that's going to be just way more comfortable in a number of departments, stretching out from 3/4 to at least a mile. And he was not prepared. I don't think any of them were prepared, maybe outside of Dale's horse, to run into like a freakish performance out of Here Comes Francis, who was, I mean, ran about as fast as a first-time starter could.
Yeah, well, and shout out to Dale's horse running second, like not giving up and staying with them pretty much all the way through the stretch. Those two are a couple of really nice horses. But yeah, it's like pretty much everybody except the two got run off their feet by Here Comes Francis. And, I won't judge Vibe too harshly. He did take a long time to come around. He probably needs a little bit more foundation. And like you said, like he's supposed to be, just physically looking at him, he's supposed to be better going longer. So I'm going to wait, withhold judgment until he stretches out to a mile. which I think you said is next for him. And I think we'll get a better sense of where he's at and his talent level.
All right, fair enough. Let's bounce over to Colonial Downs. Just a quick recap. Starting early in the day, we had Ann's girl run a very good third, was hooked, Tommy, by a Safi trained 2 to 5 shot, and they had kind of a match race brewing. And in the end, I mean, she tried hard, and I thought ultimately my takeaways, Tommy, were most impressed, in fact, very impressed with how sharp she came out of the gate, like her first stride or two, to really get no maximum speed. It took her a millisecond. And I mean, her early speed, and she was brave. I mean, she really ran hard in this race against Divine Works and the runner up.
Yeah, she did. And I was, like you said, I was impressed how she broke. I wasn't sure how she was gonna, if she was gonna keep fighting like she did, or if she was just gonna want to back up out of her first start. So I was really proud of her for just digging in. And she fought that entire way, from the turn all the way down to the stretch. So to see her run like that first out, and I think her and the second place runner just kind of tired each other out and kind of, I feel like maybe set it up nicely for Divine Works to come in and win it. But again, overall, I think that was a great first effort for her. And I think it's going to be one that she'll be able to take a step forward off of moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. She'll get a lot out of it. And it's scary to think, shifting gears and going a little later to race 5 in the Virginia Derby card Saturday at Colonial, if the best is yet to come and we get a step forward second out from Line of Justice. Very speedy, Joe, from the inside, that crummy inside post, and very, very professional, and a dominant win that came up a blazingly fast race. It was like, this was an effort, Joe, that passed the blue at eye test and backed up with a strong speed figure.
Yeah, no, I mean, and he did it the hard way too. You see he's under the gun from the rail, 23 flat, 45 and 1. So he had to run hard every single step of the way. And that Dettori horse, who you see coming into contention right here, he got the perfect setup. And there was a point where I thought he was going to run by, but then about the 8th pole, I was like, hey, no way, this horse isn't stopping. And Brad has liked him for a while now. He worked in company with Flood Zone, who was the impressive Gotham winner for Brad Cox. So he's his full brother, Ever So Mischievous, is a really nice horse. I think the sky's the limit. And look, he's a big son of a gun too. So you think he's going to stretch out even further than a mile. And look at those packed stands that get
I know. I saw, dude,
man.
watching the race live. I was like, wow, they're buried like 4 deep on the rail. Yeah, it was a nice thing to see. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, no. So I mean, obviously, you don't need me to tell you how impressive this was and how big the potential is for this colt.
And it sounds like not only did he come out of the race 92 buyer, I was wondering in my mind, I said, maybe something like the Peter Pan. Could we go that route? But it does. And I like this move. I'm, for lack of a better term or word, like off the top of my head, like I tend to be a traditionalist or maybe a little old school just in terms of like horse progression. Like I like using conditions basically, if you can. And I know there was a non-winners of one. Mind Frame actually won his A other than on Derby Day last year at Churchill Downs. So maybe something like that would be in the cards. It does sound like Brad wants to give him another race before, an allowance company before stepping up. But anyway, you slice it, very solid effort out of Line of Justice, and congrats to his partners. So let's turn the page, guys, and we will move on to, because we've got a lot actually on tap. Why don't I just bounce over to the entries? In fact, after we wrap this up in another few minutes, I am going to maybe do some push-ups, pull-ups, a little yoga, hop in the shower quick, and head down to Gulfstream for Sansone. Good luck to him in his second start. And then, I mean, guys, you can't argue with a little Thursday night action at just before 9 p.m. Eastern, as we have Independence Avenue making her first start in quite some time. In fact, she hasn't run since early October. And I'm not putting you on the spot, Tommy, because I honestly don't know the answer. But are you, I know it's a later race, or at least for me, 9 o'clock is pretty much past my bedtime. But are you heading up the Turfway for this tomorrow?
I am. Yeah, I'll be riding up 71 tomorrow. Hopefully, see what Indy Ave can give us off of the layoff.
I looked at the race, Tommy. Not an easy spot. I mean, after all, she's a horse that doesn't have all that many conditions. hard trying filly, was a value play. I mean, in my 4 years with the company, I think we bought maybe three horses out of OBS June, and she's hands down been the best one. And she's been a real pleasure. I mean, she's gonna have to run well. She's gonna have to like the synthetic, but I'm excited to get her going again. Like, I think I'm kind of belaboring the point here. I guess what I'm getting at is like Tommy, I view her. She's just like 100% racehorse, this filly.
Yeah, she's all racehorse, and I've been kind of waiting for her to get back into the entry box. So I was excited to see her pop up here, and you can see her work pattern. So she's been going over that poly at Turfway for a good bit, and like you mentioned before we jumped on, we bought her off of a synthetic breeze. So I don't think the service will be a problem. And you beat me to it. That next point was Arno's 36% at Turfway. So I think he knows exactly what he's doing when he's taking horses to run there. So I know we're in good hands with him. I like that we get Vincent Chabanot to ride as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of effort we can get out of her off the layoff. I'm not sure if it's necessarily going to be a huge winning one because it's really hard to, at least for me, it's hard to figure Turfway when I'm looking at it trying to handicap. It's all,
Yes.
I feel like if I can throw darts at the PP sometimes and have better luck. But I'm excited to get her back rolling to the races and see what she's got for us this year.
Live long shot, and I don't want to get like off in the weeds here, but on Chatter, Jeff Lowe did post the Ragozin numbers, which I will glance at. And just as a disclaimer, I wouldn't call myself an expert in terms of like patterns, and I respect these numbers greatly. I really do. And I scrolled through. The lower the number, the faster the race. Current Climate ran a 10 last time. Unbelievably fast kind of race on the figures. So I think she's 12 or 15 to 1 in the program. So I might bet a couple of bucks on her. But good luck to Independence Avenue coming back on Thursday night. Joe, have you packed your bag yet for Saturday? You're heading to the Big Easy, and my question is, have you been to fairgrounds before? And if you have you ever done a Louisiana Derby Day, which is, I'm sure, an awesome time?
I have not. I've been to New Orleans several times. Love the city. It's one of my favorite cities in America, but I have not been to Fairgrounds, so I'm really looking forward to doing it for the first time. They do a great job. I always want to shout out the racing office at Fairgrounds. Like these 13, 14 race cards with full fields, like in an era where short fields is a pretty common complaint and reasonably so. Fairgrounds puts on a really, really great product throughout the winter. So I really can't wait to get down there. I'm only going for 24 hours, so I'll pack light. Probably only have my backpack on me in the winter circle, hopefully. But really looking forward to it. And Yinzer's gonna be a long shot. There's a lot of speed in the race, but I think it's a good sign that Steve is willing to take this shot with them. It says to me that he's stepped forward again coming out of that race in his training.
Yeah, I just mentioned it with Line of Justice. Like I tend to, and I don't know, I probably overuse the phrase and term too much, like lean conservative in terms of horse placement. But as I was telling Joe and Tommy before we came on the air, I was like, who cares what I think? For me, the biggest glowing stamp of approval is the fact that Steve Asserson knows this horse is eligible for an A other than, and is simply off a maiden win, and that race was gonna come up a late season, very key, rich in points Kentucky Derby prep, and he feels confident enough to run Yinzer. So that's good enough to me. Joe, I know you and I still always till my last breath.
Oh man,
Sopranos junkie. I had to put a circle around
I was waiting
Furio.
for
I don't.
it.
Yeah, he doesn't have a chance, I don't think, and he might be certainly part of that what looks like a very honest early pace, as you were saying. But in terms of built, who's going to likely go favored? I'm anxious to see how far that horse wants to go, being by hard spun. He was losing ground late in that magnitude race last out in the Risen Star. I mean, who do you like here, Tommy? I think it's a wide open race and a good field at that.
Yeah, it is, and I kind of almost defaulted to Built a little bit, but the horse that caught my eye, especially off of the Risen Star, was Chunk of Gold. I don't think he's going to be the same price as he was last out. What was he? 43 to 1.
43 to 1, man.
But
Yeah.
coming from Turfway, he put in two really nice efforts, and a lot of people doubted him. You see, it never came back to 92, and another keeping Loveberry on. I like that. And he's shown that he can make up some ground, and he did, albeit it wasn't a whole lot of ground to be made up on magnitude. But he's a horse I'm going to keep my eye on in this race just to see maybe he bounces off that big effort at the 92, or maybe he follows it up with another big one. If he's going to be a halfway decent price, I think he'd be one that I'm going to keep my eye on.
So I think of Coal Battle, who's by Coal Front, trained by an outfit that I wasn't overly familiar with. And that horse will likely go to the Arkansas Derby against Sandman. And you get these good stories that pop up. I like seeing trainers that aren't household names get this deep in the prep season. And good luck. Yeah, good luck to Ethan West with a great colt by Preservationist that cost a mere $2,500. So they're in the big time. What about you, Joe? I mean, any passing opinion in this race outside of course, rooting for our horse Yinzer?
I mean, yeah, like the Furio thing. I knew you were going to bring that up, and I don't think he's going to steal this race like Furio almost stole Carmella from Tony. So that's my contribution right there. But I agree, with Tommy. I think Chunk of Gold is interesting. Obviously, you kind of don't want to take like a fifth or a tenth of the price that he was last time, but he ran really well and was the only one that really closed that day in that race. Like that was the speed favoring day at the Risen Start card that would, which kind of gave us a little bit of a question mark about Yinzer's race, but I'm glad we're taking a shot. I think I'm going to play this race to fall apart. I hope it doesn't, because Yinzer's probably going to be, close to the pace. But if I'm handicapping it, it just looks like there's a ton of speed. So I would lean toward Hypnus and Chunk of Gold. Instant Replay obviously has a big shot too for Brad, but I kind of feel like he's going to be overbet. I'm against John Hancock. Like I think he's going to be the favorite. It'll probably be like 5-2 or so. Obviously he's undefeated. He ran well in the Sam Davis, but breaking from the rail, stretching out another furlong with only 2 races under his belt, with a lot of speed to his outside. I got to see it. To me, that's the way I'm playing the races, to lean against John Hancock as the favorite.
Longest key prep race on the dirt. I'm glad you mentioned the stretch out because it's kind of a quirky distance at a mile and 3/16. And so further than 9. And yeah, we'll see what shakes out there. Very interesting Saturday card. Sierra Leone, by the way, coming back on the undercard. Have a great time, Joe. I know there's a bunch of partners and friends of theirs that are going to be in town, going to the Big Easy on Saturday. So let's get it done. Let's upset everybody and upset the apple cart with Yinzer in the big race. Lastly, why don't we wrap up, guys, with Superpower? We've got him cross-entered, and it can get frustrating at times, and we're right with owners, essentially partners, when you have a horse prepping and eyeing a specific race when that race doesn't go. It's very frustrating. And we've been in a little bit of a holding pattern with our near 40-1 maiden winner last night on Pegasus Day up at the Big A in Superpower. But we've got him, guys, cross-entered. We've got him in Saturday's 100K private terms. Also a 3-year-old, a other than optional claimer on Sunday, both of them in Maryland. Joe, hit me with it. In terms of not only being there for that 70 point improvement on the buyer scale at 37-1 from first to second out. You saw the race in person, and if you had your druthers, which way would you lean with Superpower and why?
Yeah, I mean, I would try the stake. Just because the stake is obviously it's stronger than the allowance. He would probably be like 8-5 in the allowance. It'll probably be like 5 or 6-1 in the stake, but he drew better in the stake. I don't think he needs the lead, even though he was put on the lead last time. I think he can get a nice covered up trip in the stake race, and it's just such a short run to that first turn at Laurel that I don't want to draw. I don't want to break from the outside, especially for half the purse. But I could see going either way. Like I would take the shot, but if you rather be the favorite in an allowance race and then use that as a springboard to take it on another stake, I would totally understand that as well. He's got to run, and I hope he runs this weekend, because I mean, who knows if that aqueduct allowance on the 30th is going to fill. But he's been training great, and I would lean towards the stake, but I would just love to see him get out of the gates this weekend.
Yeah, we'll see if he can take whatever spot he's in, if he can take another step forward in his third start. I guess for me, looking at the optional claimer, even though it's half the purse, I'd like to think, given his ability, or at least the horse that we saw in his second start, maybe that offsets a very tricky and tough post position. And it always seems like, guys, that there's a ton of scratches at Laurel. Am I incorrect for saying that? Especially like in the better races, I always feel there. Like I look up and there's scratches galore. So who knows? If we run Sunday, maybe you'll get a couple of scratches, and that'll help move us in. But Tommy, you and I were at Pegasus Day. We saw Joe in the winner's circle. Were you smart enough to bet a couple of bucks on Superpower? Because I wasn't in a second start.
No, I think yeah, who are we waiting on? I guess that was integrations,
Dude,
right?
it was Battle of Normandy and
It was,
integration. We were
yeah,
all in the
it was
paddock
those
for
two,
the for
and
the Pegasus turf.
it had completely was lost on me to even consider betting at on Superpower that day. And then I was kicking myself when I saw how much he paid. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me! We did not just pay, whatever it was $90, and
Don't
none of
feel
it
bad.
had
I was
it."
there and I didn't bet it. So
I mean, that makes me feel a little bit better, but you'd think, when you work for West Point, you would have these horses and you'd have them ready to roll. No, and that's just, I think that sums up horse racing
that's
better
very
than a
true.
lot of things right there, is even when you think you never know.
Yeah, for sure. Just again, thinking about what Yinzer is trying to accomplish on Saturday. Like you put we put our horses in the best hands we can, and we let our trainers train. So you saw it with Superpower. Let's see him do it again this weekend down in Maryland. And again, good luck to the big Yinsmeister on Saturday at Fairgrounds. There's a good chance people will tune in after Sansone runs today, but I'm excited to see him back running again, guys. Big, beautiful, strong colt. I think he's going to be your typical shug horse. He's going to inch forward and improve as we go along. But I know, Team Shugland. They like this horse. He's athletic. He's balanced, big, strong, big pedigree. So let's go get it done later today with Sansone down at the
I
old
mean,
GP by the sea.
I can back you up on that because I've had plenty of conversations with Anthony as well. And he said the same thing about Sansone, that he probably just wasn't ready to run in that first start at Saratoga. And it might be a blessing in disguise that he got a little bit of time come around. Bigger, muscular horse, like you said. Really, really stoked to get him started for his 3-year-old year.
All right, sounds good. Tommy, Joe, thank you, boys. Great job. Always good catching up as usual. Thank you to everybody for the OBS March horses. We've got a little room left on that Charlatan filly, my Kentucky Oaks filly, at least one of them for 2026 in the black and gold. So reach out to your rep. And again, best of luck to all of our horses across the board, and we'll see you next time.